everyone. I'm Emily.
And I'm Scar.
And welcome back to another episode of the Cottage Horse Podcast, where we get whimsical, wild, and whatever else every other Wednesday. We have an exciting episode for you today, so we hope you enjoy.
Far ahead. I just sat down.
Do you ever plan this far ahead?
No. Well, sometimes.
Sometimes.
If I plan the episode, I plan ahead, but I didn't plan the episode, so I didn't plan ahead.
We did plan the episode, though.
No, I mean like doing a trivia or like a whatever.
Okay,
then I'm like more prepared, but I'm not prepared.
That's fine. Okay. We're gonna roll with it today.
Yeah. We're talking about AGGGTM. Did I add an extra G into that? AGGGTM?
No, there's three.
Okay.
A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Yeah, I literally, every time I would see the acronym, I'd be like, my brain can't take this. Make it something simpler, please.
That's me with Taylor Swift songs. When people acronym them, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Literally, no one knows. And that's wonderful in some ways, but a pain in another way.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're talking about that book series. Just the first book today.
Yes.
I
haven't even finished the series, so.
No. So I read the first two books a few years ago when they first came out. And admittedly, had no desire to finish the series.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when I read them originally, I read them physically. And now that I'm rereading, I'm doing audiobooks. And I do think audiobooks has made all the difference.
I think if I had read the physical versions, I would have not enjoyed it. Not enjoyed it at all, but definitely not enjoyed it as much as I did. Like specifically the first book. I didn't read them when they first came out. I don't really know why. I just don't think I was really reading a lot of YA at the time. So like it just didn't really clock on my radar. And I was kind of like, if I want to read like crime and thriller, I'll read like an adult version kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then, with the show coming out, I was like, I should probably, give it a whirl. So I listened to it on Spotify. I've now listened to the first two books. I can't listen to the third one because I ran out of credits for this month. So I have to wait until July anyway to read the last one. But there we are. Because Spotify said no more.
I own all three physically as well. Ooh, that's the wrong book.
Oh, she's having a nightmare.
We got it.
Ta-da. Yeah, because our covers are different.
Everything's different. That's part of what we're here to talk about today. Spoiler alert.
That's true. It's kind of whack.
If you haven't read the books, go away. Sorry. No, if you haven't read the books and you want to read the books, go away. There will be spoilers. If you haven't read the books and you don't care, then stay, and we'll just tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be a very insightful review because do I remember a lot? No, that's not because the book was bad. I just struggle sometimes to remember plots, especially because since I finished the first book, I have read 6 books, so I do not recall much.
Once I finish a book, everything leaves my brain. Like, I'll recommend a book. I'll be like, this is the best book I've ever read. 5 stars. It's incredible. Changed my life. And they'll be like, oh, what's it about? Words.
Yeah, it's why I need to start writing. I need to start writing notes, like review notes. I need to actually when I do my Storygraph reviews, I need to actually review the book so I can remember. But I just can't be bothered.
It's kind of fun though, because then you get to go back in 3 years and reread it. Because when I reread this, I knew the general vibes. I remembered the plot. I remember there were 2 plot twists.
Yeah.
I remember general things. I knew the dad was sketch, and I knew the sister was sketch, but I couldn't quite remember the series of events that played out. And then as they were happening, I would be right before it, I'd be like, oh, this is what happens. I got it.
Yeah. Which is fun.
Yeah. But so for those of you who don't know, there's a US version and there's a UK version. The US version takes place in the US, and the UK version takes place in the UK. Yours is in a town called Little Kilton?
Yes.
Okay. US is Fairview, Connecticut.
That is so rogue.
Yeah. And apparently, a lot of people seem to like the UK version better because the main character is, like, better.
Yeah, I think unfortunately when they wanted to, like, wide release it, I don't know, I'm only speculating, but a lot of, like, what Pip says is, like, she spouts, like, facts and stuff, and, like, she rambles a lot, and, like, a lot of her ramblings are, like, British facts or things, so obviously, like, it doesn't quite match if you're going to set it somewhere else, and I just don't, they just basically cut that, and like, because she has a thing called, like, Pipisms or something. Yeah, but, like, it's more in the UK version, like, allegedly. Like, I haven't read, like, the American, but, like, from what I've seen from people who have read both, so she definitely has, like, more, like, personality and, like, more vibes. I also just think, like, the school settings also impact it quite big as well, because, like, just the way it's, like, I just feel like in general, small town, small England is, like, very small town, small, like, whereas, like, America's just big, even small towns are still big. Whereas I feel like that kind of helps because it feels a lot more, like, real in terms of, like, the connections you have to people and stuff. But yeah, it is odd. I found that really strange. When people were saying, like, how much shorter it was, I was like, I don't understand why that's a thing. Like, that's a really odd decision to make. Like, why are we, like, J.K. Rowling the every book? Like, what's the need?
I mean, I don't know. It's so difficult because, like, I can understand maybe from, like, a mass marketing, it just, like, a British setting would not go over as well. Personally, I have no issue with it. I've read other books set in the UK, and, like, it's never been that, like, jarring for me personally. I think the hardest part is that, like, people don't know that there's a difference. Because, like, they'll see the UK version and obviously it has a different cover, but that's very common in books.
Yeah.
In the US versus the UK. So, like, having a different cover is not that crazy, but, like, had I known that there was originally a UK version that is longer and everything, I probably would have gotten that one. I would have gone for that.
Yeah.
Because that's the original, technically. The US version was published 2 years later. And they took out about, like, 4 chapters, people said. I think it's about 2 hours on the audiobook that you lose. And I agree, because, like, Pip does ramble in the US version, but it's not, like, a lot of people say she comes off more neurodivergent in the UK version based on how she rambles, and she's not that in the US. And honestly, the US version, she's a little insufferable. She comes off as more like a pick-me girl. Which is really annoying. She does, like, nervously ramble, but it's not, there's no, like, purpose behind it. Like, there seems to be in the UK version.
Yeah, I just think, like, obviously the main barrier is, like, the project. Like, in the UK, there's a thing called EPQ, which is what Pip is doing in the British version, which is an optional thing that you can do in college, which is ages 16 to 18. I didn't do one because I was like, no, but that's because I was doing an AS level, so it just depends. But anyway, most people don't do them anymore because they kind of stupid, to be honest, but that's irrelevant. No shade to anyone who's done one, but essentially, like, they aren't very beneficial in the long term from my peers who did them. But anyway, that's what she's doing. And obviously, like, if you don't know what that is, you don't know what that is, and there isn't really, like, a comparable thing in the US to that. And it's just, like, that's valid. Like, I get that that's a big problem, and maybe you do want to make it more digestible, but then all you have to do is just explain what it is. Like, just provide exposition. Like, it's not hard to be like, oh, an EPQ, or just have, like, a little thing at the start being like, here are some, like, things that you might not know. Like, an EPQ is an extended qualified project. It's about 5,000 words. You pick a topic, you have a supervisor, you write about it. It's a coursework. Simple. That's literally it. And I just summarized it in a sentence. Like, it's not hard to do that.
What's interesting is in the US version, they call it a capstone project, which, I mean, maybe schools do that, but like I've never heard of that outside of this book.
Yeah.
So it's like they still had confusion. They still had to explain what the capstone project was. So like it wasn't like a seamless transition into the US version. So yeah, like to your point, like it doesn't make sense that they just changed it.
It just makes me like mad that like there is a need for like simplification or like changes for books that isn't because of like cultural reasons or like something. Like I can recognize like there's some things where it's like, okay, yes, in the context, if someone outside of a certain setting was reading this, perhaps you need to change things. But like for things like that, it seems so silly because I'm like, why? Like why are we changing that? Like think about it. Like listen, she who shall not be named, but like people who read Harry Potter still understood the school system despite it being a British school system. Like the only thing that was changed was the name of the first book. Like you just deal with it. You just deal with it.
And like personally, like it also like for me, it doesn't matter if I don't 100% get it. Like, oh, she's in school. Cool. She's in like her final year of school before she goes off to university. Great. Okay. Like that's literally all you need to know.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's like
have a full understanding of the breakdown of the school system.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the British ramblings, like, yes, I recognize that. But again, if it's set in the context of Britain, then it doesn't matter. And like if you don't understand what she's rambling about, that's okay. Did I understand what she was rambling about at the time? No, I did not, because I'm stupid. But like I did not take history at A level. Like I'm sorry, it's just one of those things.
I think it was, I'm trying to like look for it. I think it was Then She Was Gone. That was set in the UK. I read that. I was fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because it's YA. And like I'm sure there are other YA examples of this, but like I do think that's a big reason. And I'm like, stop thinking that people who read YA are stupid.
Well, and like what's really interesting about that too is if you look at a lot of like fantasy YA, it is so UK coded.
Yeah.
Like, okay, ACOTAR, the map, fucking England. Or not England, but like the UK.
Yeah.
It is Europe.
Yeah.
That map is just Europe.
No, it's big. Yeah, and like it's funny you mention this because I actually like listened to watched a like a YouTube essay thing on like fantasy on why it is so like European, or like it's European or it's like very Asian, and there's not really any in between. I mean, it's like it is because it's like there's a idea, like especially from American authors, like there's the idea of like Europe and Asia being very exotic, and like there's that common thing where like Americans will be like, I'm going on holiday to Europe, and everyone's like, where in Europe? Like where? Like where do you mean? Because it's like you just see it as one entity. So yeah, like there is like there's definitely this like interesting writing thing where like things are very centric in the bubble over there. But
I think too a lot of it has to do with like a lot of fantasy books have a lot of royalty to them. And
that's
like,
true.
Royalty, Europe.
Yeah,
because like I mean, yes, technically America had a king, and then we said fuck that guy.
Yeah, I think that's also true. I just think it's like silly because it's like, listen, it's fiction. Like, do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? I'm like, unless you're taking on real life things, which I don't like. I have columns with you telling me about real things. Do not tell me about Stranger Things. Do not tell me about these things that happen. I don't care. You can use like real places. You can tell me they've gone to Big Tesco. Slay. Love that they went to Big Tesco. I don't know why they'd be going to Big Tesco, but they could. But that stuff like that, like no.
Pop culture. Like real
that's what I mean.
Fine. I don't want pop culture references because in the second book they're talking about watching Stranger Things, and I was like, no, you literally could have just said you're watching TV. You did not specifically have to mention Stranger Things because A, ew, and B, dates the book heavily.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like it's unnecessary. What did it add? Nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'm fine with you adding filler to your stories. Like I'm not going to come here and be like, you can't add unnecessary information. But I think when you're writing a crime and a thriller, everything you write more or less has to have intention, or it has to have an impact. Did that have an impact? No. What had the impact was you telling us about Kara and her struggling with sleep. Like that's the impact. I got that without Stranger Things.
Yes. Well, then it's also like I'm sitting here and I'm like, what season of Stranger Things? Like my brain just like automatically like goes on a tangent, and then I'm like, what season of Stranger Things? Like where are we at in the timeline?
what I mean. Like, I think you often leave more threads than you like tie up, which is fine. Like, sometimes you can do that. You can write you can write whatever you want, and it can still be good writing. But sometimes I think there's definitely like got to be succinct, because otherwise you lose people.
Yeah. Also, I think the funniest change for me between the two books, as we were discussing this, Kara.
Oh yeah.
Actually, no. There's two. First off, Kara is blonde in one and brunette in the other for like no reason. It literally impacts nothing. Not that I could have told you Kara's hair color.
I was gonna say, I don't even recall that being information that was given to me. But
yeah. And then the other thing is Kara notices that there is food going missing, and in yours, it's just biscuits. Very general.
Yeah.
But in the
so
US
like
version, it's specifically Butterfingers.
Yeah, which is so fucking weird. That is so random. Like, what a weird, like, they just like span a wheel of like American like treats, and like that's not even comparable. Just say cookies. It's literally like, why? Like, why are they going so different?
Like, if you really want to name a cookie, like if they really stick to, like, they should have stuck to cookies and should have gone like Oreos, because like Oreos are a very like common thing to have in their house.
But like it's not, but like it's not. But it's not specific in the UK. It's literally just biscuits.
No, I know.
And I'm like, that's so. But like, that's also a weird thing. I'm like, but what kind of biscuits? Is it a bourbon? Is it a custard cream? Is it a digestive? Is it a hobnob? Like, what's a Karen? Is he taking stale OTs?
Any real words in that sentence? But carry on.
Is he taking dry ass ginger nuts, or is he taking like, chocolate digestive? Bro, I'd be sat. I'd be in that lot, and I'd be sat, and I'd be eating like. I need to know what biscuits they are, because also it's interesting, because I wonder if the Butterfingers came from, because I think Cara mentions Jaffa cakes, but like Butterfingers and Jaffa cakes are not alike either. But I wonder if maybe they took the idea of something specific like a Jaffa cakes and were like, oh, what's another thing? I'm like,
yeah, those don't line up. So I do have pulled up that little Instagram post you sent me. There is a TikTok Instagram account called AGGGTM Update. I want to make sure we credit them, because this is their work.
Yes, credit. Yeah, I did not make this. Found it and sent it.
We, just to kind of like compare some. So what's also interesting to me is, because the US version was published 2 years later, it takes place 2 years later, which is so unnecessary.
I know. Because, like, I don't really know what was going on here.
Certain books obviously need a time period. If you're writing anything like historical fiction, time period is important. But like, for them, nothing impacted the story in terms of what year it was. So for the UK version, it's set in 2017, and for the US, it's 2019. So everything is just 2 years later, which then really just adds to Stranger Things comment, because you're on a completely different season of Stranger Things 2 years later.
Literally. There's so much to unpack here.
There is.
What about COVID? There's so much to unveil.
Yeah, so Kara is blonde in the UK version, but brunette in the US. Again, did not catch that. So yeah, they call it a capstone project here. In yours, it's the EPQ. Saul wants to go to Oxford in the UK version, versus he wants to go to Yale in the US version. I get why they changed that, obviously, but also like it doesn't matter.
No,
he wants to go to kind of a prestigious college.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of talked about the Pippisms. So this one I thought was interesting. So Pip is closer to Elliot in the UK version and refers to him by his first name. But in the US version, she pretty much only calls him Mr. Ward. And I'm wondering, like, is it common to call your friend's parents by their first name in the UK?
Yeah, I would say so. I always have referred to my friends' parents by their first names, unless they've like said otherwise, but usually it's very like chill. So see, I don't know.
I think that's why, because in the US, it really depends. But like most people won't call their friends' parents by their first names. They'll call them like Mr. Mrs. last name. Like even to this day, I've been with my husband for like 9 years. I do not like to call his parents by their first name.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. It's so weird.
I think it depends. I think it depends though, because I think when I first met like a few of my friends' parents, like I think I did refer to them as like whatever. But then like it just kind of didn't matter. Like the only person I can think of, like I had a friend whose dad was like the head teacher at our school. So like in this instance, honestly, I do think it is maybe slightly strange that she refers to him at Elliot as much as she does, because I found it weird calling my like I always refer to my friend's dad by his name because that's his teacher name, and it felt weird not calling him by his teacher name, because then I'm like, what if in school I just like say his name?
I wonder if it's because
I think it depends.
From a young age.
Yeah, I think so. I also think it's interesting because that is a really like that's such a big dynamic to change.
Yeah.
Like it's so strange to have that shifted. I think that's also where a lot of cutting happens, because I think they have like conversations together that are like friendly and stuff. So I wonder if they also cut that, maybe. I don't know, but it seems odd.
No, she talks, and like she does like talk about how close they are. Like she's always said that she sees him as like a second father figure. And like when he got slippers for Kara and Naomi, like he got Pip a pair of slippers as well. So like she always felt part of the family. So like I don't think their relationship was like downplayed. I think it's just how she refers to him as, which is fair.
Weird.
Because like I actually, one of my best friends growing up, would not call her parents by their first name, but I also didn't call them by their last name. So my friend, her name is Charlie, and they were Mr. Charlie's dad or Mrs. Charlie's mom.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting because, yeah, I don't know. I think it obviously depends. I mean, for some people, I think they'd be like, no, I only refer to them like Mr. and Mrs. or Mr. and Mr. whatever. But yeah, I think on the whole, it's more common. But I do think it's interesting because I think. I wonder if the differences of like their relationship is more on this case of like in the US version, it's more insinuated that like Pip is just incredibly close to like Cara and Naomi and therefore like is close to Mr. Ward. Whereas like in the UK version, it does feel like it could be like a family unit in sense. Like it feels like he's not just like, you are my daughter's friend. It's more of like you are like someone I also care for vibe. I wonder if there's differences there. I don't know, but it is interesting. It's interesting to shift something, like I said, very plot important. I don't know, but clearly they don't care. They changed a lot of things that have plot importance apparently, and they just were like, "Nah, you'll figure it out, I guess." Like, okay, valid.
One of the things I saw people say is like that there's a lot of like British slang still in the US version. I can't speak to that. I didn't notice it, but also
I can't. But the thing is like I was going to say, can I remember any British slang? No, I cannot.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, I can't speak on that either.
I'm looking at some of the like word phrase differences. So obviously like mom versus mum, gas versus petrol, aircon versus AC, stuff like that. But like I don't even remember half these words in there. Like, did they say the word gas and refer to a car? I don't know. Probably. Do I remember? No.
No, I don't remember.
And like I reckon versus I bet. Do I remember any character saying that? No.
I wonder if it's more of the street and the school slang than like that type of slang. Like I wonder if it's referring, like I wonder if it's like hallway corridor vibes. That is more, but I'm like, that's not slang. Like, corridors slash hallway are not slang for each other. They're just alternate names.
Yeah.
And like street, like I think like pavement. I guess that would also be a thing. Like she hit what's on the pavement. So maybe the house party vibes are also different. I can see that being interesting.
I think it's also very
I'm also interested by that. Like, when she goes to the party, the drinking ages are obviously very vastly different, and drinking culture is also very vastly different. And Pip is obviously still underage in the UK version, but it is extremely common for children underage to be drinking. In the UK. Now, do I condone this? No, but it is a fact. So how is that like in the American version? Do they even talk about there being alcohol, or is it just kind of like meh?
No, it's talked about. I think that actually is an interesting point. So underage drinking is also very common here. So I mean, house parties having alcohol is not a strange thing. But I do think what's interesting, and granted, maybe it's because I don't remember being a teenager and I didn't do much drinking when I was underage. They're very like blasé about it, and I feel like everyone around them is very like blasé about it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think when they're going to the party, Pip's dad even makes a comment of like, "Oh, our kid going out to like get drunk or whatever, or something, like going to a house party with alcohol." And I'm like, yeah, some parents are chill about that. But like, I do think because of the drinking ages being different, it is like more normalized in the US version than it necessarily would actually be.
Yeah, I thought so, because I was thinking that, because like when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, like this is just like a standard thing, and I was like, oh wait, like this wouldn't be, because obviously they are like the same ages, because like here, like, yeah, I mean, I think I was going to like house parties at like 14, 15, and like I don't think all of them had alcohol at, but like certainly when I was in college they did. And it was just very normal, because it was treated as like, if you're going to do it anywhere, like a lot of parents here are like, a lot of my friends' parents as well, like if you're going to drink, like I want it to be in my house. Like, okay, you're still at a party, but like I want it to be in my house. So it was very chill. Like they would like buy us stuff, and it would like be supervised but also like unsupervised. I feel like that's kind of, obviously I know in this situation it was slightly different, but yeah, I think it's interesting that being, because there's some things I'm like they clearly make a big deal out of changing, and then there's other things where clearly they don't. Like your priorities seem a little bit silly.
It's also like, okay, so I grew up in a smaller town. I did not go to many parties in high school. I was a theater kid. If I was going to parties, it was cast party. Like, so I do know like there are like stereotypical, oh, your parents are out of town, let's throw a rager. Does that actually happen? Probably. Have I ever been to one personally? No. So I don't think it's probably that odd. But
yeah, I think it's interesting also, though, because I would say here, and maybe I don't know this, but like I would say here, like I feel like parents going out of town and throwing parties is such an American thing. That's not a thing that happens here. Like, so it's really odd, because like that's such an American thing. Like I think of all these American movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, have a party in my house because my parents are out of town. I'm like, where are your parents going? Yeah. Where are they going? Honestly, like even like I'm like, where are they going? Like I can't even recall any parents I know going out of town. Where are they going?
My parents have gone out of town, and like they do, but like I don't know, I've never personally like had someone be like, oh, my parents are out of town this weekend, so we're gonna throw a party.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It also so America is so big. I don't know what the East Coast is like, so I don't know what the culture and vibes are in Connecticut. I can speak to the Midwest. I can't speak to Connecticut.
I don't feel like Connecticut is going to have that kind of different of a vibe, but maybe I don't know.
I don't know either. The East Coast, though, they can be mean. That's all I know.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. And that's the same here. Like, England is big. I don't know if it's, like, kind of specified where Little Kilton is. It gives Surrey core. So, I'm going to peg it. Well, they are definitely in the south, but if there's a county, that would be helpful.
Says Buckinghamshire.
Oh, you're kidding. Also, it's Buckinghamshire, you American fool. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, listen. I'm sorry.
No.
To be fair, that's fair, because, like, New Hampshire.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
That makes sense.
Because I don't feel like they reference anything else. Like, I don't think they reference any other, like, places, but maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Also, I saw a TikTok saying, like, the opening line is different in the books, but it's not. I would say the first, like, 2 paragraphs. Yeah, like, first 2 to 3 paragraphs are the same. They split once Pip starts, like, she does some Pipisms in the UK version that she doesn't in the US. I think in the UK version, they, like, added more comments on, like, the... When Pip is, like, looking at the pictures and, like, Emma and Chloe are commenting, they, like, add more comments for some reason.
That is a bit odd, but okay. Yeah. Seems a bit unnecessary, but sure.
Yeah. So, like, in the UK version, it's just Emma saying, oh my god, Andy, you are literally in creds so beaut. Chloe's like, FFS, I wish I didn't have to be picked with you, give me your face. And then Andy says no thanks with a bunch of X's. And then Emma says, Andy, can we take a nice pic? One of the three of us at the next Calamity need a new profile pic.
What the hell?
And then in the US version, it's, oh my god, Andy, stop being so gorge. Chloe says, I wish I didn't have to be in pics with you. Give me your face. Andy just says no with a winky face. So I guess actually it's the same amount of comments. It's just like slightly changed lingo.
I've just had a realization that if the UK version is set in 2000, like this is a weird realization to have. If the UK version is set in 2015 and Pip is meant to be 17, that means she was born in 1998, which means she's older than me in the UK version, but she's younger than me. No, but she's also older than me in the US version by a year. And I'm like, I don't fucking speak like that.
It takes place in 2017 for yours.
How? Oh, okay. So she's still older than me though. She was still born a year before me.
Yeah.
And then I'm older than her in the US version. Weird. Weird.
Yeah, it's also interesting. Like they changed the location, but they did not change like any of the like other places. So like it's in Little Kilton, and then there's still the Barrows Wood in both versions. There's still like it's Little Kilton Common or Fairview Common. And then there's still the it's Lodge Wood versus Lodge Park. So like it's still like little stuff like that. Like the maps, you can kind of see that are exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't really get it. I don't really get the
I'm very curious because I know England is typically more like walkable.
Yes, definitely.
But one of the biggest parts of the first book is, would Sal have had enough time to drive to all of the places that he needs to go?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's like that in the UK, but like, is that weird?
No, I wouldn't say so. Well, I think in this instance, given like the context of the situation, no. I think they probably I think in their eyes, given the layout of where they are, there are roads. And so they were thinking the quickest you could possibly do it is by car.
Okay.
The slowest you could do it is by walking. So if we can eliminate the quickest, then he can't have done it full stop, like kind of thing, I think is kind of the vibe I was picking up. Yeah, it is interesting because of that, because there is a lot of like, I don't know, like everything is obviously very, very close together. And I'm not saying everything is very, very far apart in America. That's not how it works. It's not like everything's spread out. But I know here, like a 40-minute car journey is long. Like that's a long car journey. Fuck that. Yeah. People aren't traveling that far. They're like, everything I need is in like 5 minutes. Go away. Like you aren't going far away. So it's interesting on like the scale thing. But like to be fair, not that that's really a big issue. But
okay, no, I was just curious because I know like for like the most part, more walkable.
Yeah, well, I'm walking anywhere, mate. It's bloody hilly as hell. I am walking shit. Not where I live. Maybe in Buckinghamshire, it's like north of London. So it's maybe a little bit more flat, but I think they have like hills still. But
fair.
No thanks. No thanks. It's also weird because like there's a big deal of like Pip having her own car, and having your own car at 17, fucking crazy in the UK. Wild. Obviously, you can learn to drive. Like I passed my driving test, like more or less. I think I passed my driving test just before my 18th birthday. It's like, it's not unheard of, but having your own car, I mean, people had their own cars at college, don't get me wrong, but like they were bougie as hell. I was like, dang.
Gotcha.
Because like driver's ed is like obviously a thing. Like obviously I know driver's ed is a thing for you. We don't have that. You just like do your own thing.
Yeah.
Well, not quite literally. Obviously you still have a test. Just like go on the road, but it's a different vibe. But yeah, interesting. It's just a lot of like unnecessary changes that don't add anything. So I'm like, what was the need, Steve?
True. Okay, can I ask you something?
Okay, yeah.
To understand.
Yeah.
So, She Who Must Not Be Named.
Yeah.
That series.
Yeah.
So in this, Pip is in year 13, is that correct?
Yes.
But in that series, their like final year is like year 7, isn't it? Why is it different? I'm so confused.
No. Okay, so it's not different. So Delilah's tried to chime in. Anyway, so in hello. She said
we are not looking like I can see her too.
She's like, we're not talking about that series. Be for real. Hello? Do you mind? Do you have comments, feedback, opinions that you'd like to share with the class?
She's trying to explain it.
She is, and she's doing a really poor job. No, but yeah, so basically our secondary school is from when you're ages 10 to 16, and that is year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, and year 11. And then college is 12 and 13. So in Harry Potter, they are there from ages, well, it's weird because they call it years 1 to, like, they say years 1 to 7, but that's how they refer to it in Scotland, so it's slightly different. But essentially, it's the same thing. Yeah. Because again, Scotland have a different system.
I forget technically Hogwarts is in Scotland.
And again, to be fair, in terms of Scotland, like, I don't think their years are necessarily called years 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, but they are called slightly differently. And I think just for simplicity reasons and the fact that it's like magical realism, they're like, hey, it's the correct ages of secondary school, but we're just going to say 1 to 7. So you're there for 7 years. And it's like, well, I did know that, thanks, though.
that did always just like confuse me, because I'm like, that doesn't.
It is weird.
Everything else I've been told. Okay.
Yeah, because they get their letters and they're like, yeah, it's odd. It is odd. I don't really know.
Okay.
Strange. School system makes no sense, and I don't like it.
School is stupid. That's what we've learned here.
It is stupid, but and also, you know what else is stupid? Age gaps that don't add anything to the plot and are unnecessary and just do nothing and make me feel weird and uncomfortable. Because the thought of being with someone, I'm like, ew.
That's my biggest ick with this book.
Yes. No one talks about it. No one addresses the age gap. Like, none of the characters are like, and I'm like, if I dared let at 17, if I dared let a man full stop, but if I dared let alone a man who was like, what, 20, 21 into my house, I'd be fucking in the 6 foot in the garden, dead, deceased.
Yes.
Well, I'd be going to an asylum. Are you kidding me? What the hell? How is their parents letting that fly?
It's even more stark, I think, in the second book, because like they're specifically talking about how like Pip's mom was like, you need to focus on school. You cannot go to these trials because you got to go to school. And so that's why Ravi goes in her place, because he doesn't have school. And I'm like, ew.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because like no one talks about it, and I'm like, someone should be talking about this, because I know UK school culture. I know what people would be saying behind her back. I know what they'd be saying, and it would not be very fucking nice. And I know she gets her trolls in the second book, but trust me, she would not be having a live, laugh, love time if I know anything about how mean teenagers are in secondary school. And obviously that's universal, but especially in British secondary schools, they are going around this boy's house and calling him a fucking nonce on the daily. He cannot walk out of his house without being called a fat nonce. I'm sorry, it's true. Like, people will call people nonces even if they're not nonces here. Like that. I'm sorry.
Translate the word nonce.
It's basically someone who is a pedophile.
Okay, that's what I thought, but like, to me, that just sounds like you're calling him an idiot.
It's very jokey. It's a way of saying it, but like, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You have an Indian family whose other brother is accused of murder as this is ongoing, and then you have his younger brother who's still older than the protagonist, like not pursuing her but being close to her, and obviously they do end up dating. I'm just saying that's not ending well for anyone involved.
And like you said, like, it's literally so unnecessary. It adds nothing to the plot. There is no character reason for this age gap, so it's just icky. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think Pip and Ravi are very cute if you just look at like their personalities? Yes. But I hate the age gap, and I hate that it's going to be like in the show normalized even further, because it is.
Yeah. I think
that's also why I like, as I was finishing the second book, I was just like, ew.
I think also what makes it feel like less weird is because he's not in school, like because he's not doing anything, like he's just kind of there. Whereas I feel like people would be a lot more like shocked if he was at university, and I know he does go to university in the third book, but it isn't uncommon for a lot of people to have a partner be in their first university and you still be in college just because of when birthdays fall in the UK, just because like if your birthday falls later or earlier, like I knew people who that fell for. So like in an outside perspective, you're like, oh, that's not weird, but it is weird considering the fact that obviously he's entered university late, which isn't a bad thing. You can enter university at whatever point you want, but he didn't go there when like most people do at like 18. So yeah, it's just really odd. Like, I just don't understand why he couldn't be the same age, or like even like a year older. Like, I still would be a bit like, but like a year older is like a little bit more acceptable, like whatever. But like 3 years is a lot.
Yeah, especially when
like, at that age, that's a lot older. I can't, like, when I was 20, I didn't even look at like 20. I looked at like 19-year-olds, and I was like, ugh! Like, are you kidding me? You telling me this grown man is looking at that 17-year-old going, fucking hell, she's quirky and smart, and she's gonna help, like, you know, help my brother not be guilty, sexy as fuck. Ew. Like, I know that they don't do anything. This is also the thing why people don't like have a problem with it, is they don't do anything. Like, they just kind of hang out together, and in the second book it's like, hey, we're now together, and they kiss like once and they say I love you. They don't do anything, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be anything more, but I think if there was more to their romance, maybe it wouldn't fly. I say that, but that's not true, because I know the book Top Girlies eat really bad things up. So,
true that. I think
so maybe I don't know.
I'm not arguing for age gaps by any means. I think this one, not acceptable, but like the reason I could kind of see it being the way it is you could argue that Ravi, yes, he's older physically, but not like mentally necessarily. I feel like a lot of him got stunted with Sal's death.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of him is like younger than what he actually is, because he didn't go off to college. He didn't do all of these things that you normally would do at those ages, because I feel like a lot of his life got like taken away from him by losing Sal. Again, I'm not arguing for it. I think that might be one of the, like, I could see that being an explanation for why it is the way it is. However, I also think the weird like trauma bonding thing they do together and then end up together is also weird, because it's like y'all went through some traumatic shit together and now you're dating, and it does feel a little bit odd.
There's also an element of like, and this is just me in my personal brain, like, I'm not trying to like put this onto other people or onto a character, but like, if I were in Pip's shoes and I helped this person, you know, family recover from their trauma and get justice, I would feel really weird about this other like then dating this other person. Like, it feels like there's some level of like, I don't know, like there's some weird like power play at hand of you, like, of, is it like, I would constantly feel in my head like, is it like a weird guilt like, attachment?
Does he like me,
like,
or does he feel indebted to me for clearing his brother's name?
I think it's a really weird like dynamic to have with someone. And then when you also add the fact that they're older, like, I think that's also really odd. Like, I think there's a lot at play that just isn't touched on, and I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I'd be having a breakdown on the daily. Like, I feel like I'd be not okay.
You know what it makes me think of? Did you watch iCarly growing up?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where Freddie saves Carly from getting like hit by that car, and then she's like in love with him for that episode? That's what it makes me think of. Like, Pip saved Sal in a way, and now Robbie's like, oh my god, I love you because you like cleared my brother's name. And it's like, do you actually? Although I don't know, they did kind of have some like, again,
they did.
Age gap aside, they did have some cute moments in the beginning.
They did.
Which was like Bradbury muffins.
No, I like, they don't like, I do like the way that their relationship was like built up. Yes. Like, I think all the characters' relationships are like very good and very well written. I think that's one thing that the book does really, really well, is like everyone's like connections to each other is very meaningful, and it feels real. It feels genuine. And I like the way that they constantly evolve. I think that's fun. I like the way they like, I like people's emotion. Like, it feels very emotionally open, which is nice in a YA book, because most YA books, the characters are very emotionally stunted. And I'm like, well, every teenager can't communicate. They just choose not to, but they can, which is quite refreshing. And like, even the adults, like, you can tell, like, I like the family dynamics. I feel like they feel like family dynamics. They just aren't like, here are person A and B and their children. Like, it feels like there are bonds there, which is good. But yeah, I don't know, age gap, I'm just like, was there a need? Again, no. Basically, this video is, was there a need to change, or was there a need to include this? And the answer is usually always no.
No. That being said, I am excited for the show. I have seen a lot of people, though, be like, why is Pip British? It's like, well, because it's taking place in the UK version. I'm excited for the show. I'm a little apprehensive for the length of the show.
Yes, same. I'm nervous.
Because it's only 6 episodes, and we don't know how long those episodes are going to be. And I know this does not look like a long book, but
it's long.
The text is quite small, and there's a lot of shit that is happening.
And the audiobook is like, what? How long was the audiobook? I can't remember. Like,
mine was like 11, 12? I think.
Yeah, I think mine was like 13, 14 hours. Like, it's long. And to be fair, like, I very rarely say this about books. I usually am like, books can be shorter. Make your books shorter. To be fair, I did feel like the ending was very like shit hits the fan, very, very quick and tumble. And I'm like, it probably could have been slowed down a little bit. But like, I also understand you want to keep the suspense alive. But it felt very like, we are now at 100, which is fine. Like, it worked. I still enjoyed it. But it could even be slower. So yeah, I'm nervous. I think for, like, YA true crime thrillers, very hard to get right, especially in show format. I'm interested to see how they do it, because if the episodes are any shorter than 40 minutes, I think we are going to be in for a sad time, unfortunately. I think they need to at least be 40 minutes long. Otherwise, there's going to be so much lost.
Because,
like, so much lost.
It's a very long book, like, in the sense that a lot is happening over a long period of time. And also, part of what you were saying, like, these people are fleshed out characters with fleshed out dynamics. That is important to the story. Yeah. The characters really drive it as much as the plot does. So I'm worried that we're not going to, like, we're not going to feel enough of the characters. Because, Pip's relationship with Kara and Naomi is so huge. That is why Pip makes so many of the choices she does, is because she does not want to see anything happen to Naomi. She's like a sister to me, and like, yeah, she did a really awful thing, but like, I'm not gonna like ruin her life over this type thing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm worried about. Is I have a feeling, and I've seen other people say this, is they're also feeling. I have a feeling they're gonna push Pip and Ravi's relationship, and therefore other relationships will suffer because of it. Do I think that's necessarily the incorrect decision? No, but I also don't think it's the correct decision either. Like, I think it's one of those things where, like, I recognize that you want to push it as like more genres than just one. You want to have this more like enticement here, but I think ultimately, like, for me, I'm not a big romance girly as it stands. Like, if this, I did not realize there was romance in this book. It's fine. Like I said, aside from the age gap, like, whatever, I don't really care. But like, it was nice. Like, I appreciated it. But like, I could have gone, like, they could have just been besties and I've been like slay. Like, for me, the platonic relationships, like you were saying, were far more impactful and important to me, because like you're saying, they have so much significance on every decision. And like, I just don't think if you start to play with that, and you don't allow us to hang out at their house and like have Pip be involved in that family dynamic, I just think the twist, the impacts are just going to be like, okay.
Well, I think like it also is a very interesting dynamic because they have they have 3 sets of siblings that are like very focused on, but specifically 2 sets of sisters, because you have Andy and Becca, you have Kara and Naomi, and then you have Pip and her brother Josh. But like the contrast between Andy and Becca and Kara and Naomi is very like integral to the story, because you see Kara and Naomi in such like a loving family. They care about each other. Yeah, they're sisters, so they like, you know, have little spats, but like at the end of the day, like it's very much a loving relationship, versus Andy and Becca have a very volatile relationship, and that is what leads to the events that happened. And I think that is like also very important. And also with Pip and Ravi, they're not even together until the second book, like officially, because you open the second book and they're not even actually dating, and it's been a few months since everything happened. So yeah, I agree. I think they're probably going to push that, but I hope not.
Yeah. I think also like it's difficult because I think also like I hope we don't see sacrifices to like Pip and her parents and like Pip and Josh. Like, I think that's also like a fun thing, is their family dynamic is really strong, and again, like, that's important. Like, the dynamics between families are like really, really key here. You know what, I am hoping they don't include the dog dying. Can you not do that this time? I was not prepared.
But some important plot.
They can change that. I'm sorry, you can cut that and make it and change a few things.
I don't know, because like, that's part of how Pip realizes that it's not just Elliot doing shit.
Yeah, I guess, but like, I feel like there are other things you can do to show that impact than killing a dog on screen.
I mean, I don't think they have to kill him on screen. I think you can find out.
Yeah, but I don't want that. I don't want that. Because you know what, like, there's a website called Does the Dog Die? And like, for some things I do check it because I like to like find trigger warnings because they aren't in things. I went into this being like, it's YA, what's the worst that can happen? And the worst happened. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm not laughing because like obviously a dog dying is very sad. It was very traumatic. But I just love that you're like, what's the worst thing that could happen in this YA book? And then you're like, fuck, this really was the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah. I genuinely
about two people getting murdered and the main character almost dying. The dog fucking.
Well, at least I knew what I was getting into with that. Like, I knew there was like murder. I was like, "Are you kidding?" When that dog got lost, I was like, "I'm having words. I'm having words for you, bitch." I was like, "How dare you?" I was traumatized. I still am traumatized, as you can tell. And then they keep bringing it up. I'm like, stop it. I know, obviously, you have grief, but I'm like, stop it. I don't like it.
Did they say what kind of dog it was? Did they say what breed it was?
I think so, but I can't remember.
Because I'm just like, what if the dog looks like Delilah? Like, will you just not watch the show?
I don't think it is. I think it's like a King Charles or something, wasn't it? I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe I made that up. I feel like they have a very like British dog. I feel like they have a King Charles or a Spaniel or something. Cocker Spaniel.
Let's see, what breed? I'm gonna look it up and see if Google will tell me. Is Pips dog in AGGTM?
I'm trying to think of like what else.
Dog.
Oh, does it not say? I feel like it says, but then maybe I just made that up in my head. Maybe in my head I just envisioned...
He was a golden retriever?
No,
I thought he was a little dog.
I thought he was a little dog. I thought he was like a little, like, I thought he had little, funny little wavy ears. Huh. A golden retriever?
Like, not to say a golden retriever.
That's big.
But that feels...
Nah, but that's a big dog. That's a big dog to drown. That's a big dog to lure away. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You can't just pick up a golden retriever.
They did not make it a golden retriever in the show. Because there's already a picture of Pip with her dog. It is a bigger dog.
Why is he there? Go away. Get that dog off set. I don't want it there.
Hold on, I'm gonna
I refuse.
Send it to you so you can see.
I refuse for there to be a dog in this show. I don't want it. Why can't they have a bird or something? I'd be so sad if a bird died, but like, I feel like it would be less traumatic. Maybe, I don't know. I cried over Ned yesterday though, because so I have nothing to say. I literally was so emotional yesterday. He was bleeding and I got really, really sad. I thought he was gonna die. He's fine. But I got very, very sad.
For the viewers who don't know, would you explain who Ned is, please?
Yeah, he's a gerbil. Yeah, he cut his belly on his cage. He's okay. He's okay now. We cleaned him out. He seems to be fine. But I was really sad because I couldn't see what was wrong. And I was like, no, my best friend. And then he's fine now, I think. But I was sad. That is... I know what type of dog that is. But I also don't know what type of dog it is. That dog is so ratty, and I love it. I love ratty dogs. Dogs that just look like old men. My fave.
I'm sorry, this is so terrible, but Barney has his own fandom Wikipedia page.
No!
Deceased.
No, that's not funny.
I just saw a spoiler, and I don't know if it's in the second or the third book, but I'm like...
I've had both. Well, I finished... I've had the... the dog comes back.
No. Do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
So this actually makes more sense now, knowing it's a bigger dog.
Okay.
It was later revealed that Jason Bell actually drowned the dog, Andy and Becca's dad, because he thought it was Becca's dog and he wanted to teach her a lesson.
See, I knew that man was sus as hell, but what the fuck? I always was like, he's dodge. Like, I was like, he's dodgy as hell. Like, I know he's lost his daughter, but like, he's... No, but like, I mean, like, just in more sense, like, I know that, but like, I just mean in like more sense, like, there's something else sketchy about him. I was like, I know you don't want to be like, oh, of course it's going to be the abuser kind of thing, because like, that's not true, but like, obviously they're still bad people, but like, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a murderer or whatever, but I was like, he's dodge. he's sketchy. There's something else in fishing, and he was being fishy. What the hell?
Yeah. So that must be in the third book then, since neither of us have read that one.
What the actual hell?
But that at least checks out more to me, because I'm like, I'm sorry. I know a golden retriever could drown, but like not likely. That is a big dog.
I'm still shocked by like maybe I just don't know, but like maybe it depends on the dog. I guess golden retrievers are a little bit more personable, but like no one ever could lure Delilah away. She would never leave this household. You know what I mean? Like that dog, like I know she can be picked up, but like this golden retriever, like I'm assuming Becca didn't pick it up. I mean, they're quite heavy. Like so she's lured this dog away. And like golden retrievers, yes, but like my dog's a dumb bitch. She ain't going anywhere.
Golden retrievers are known for that kind of personality, though. That's why, like, the black cat golden retriever boyfriend trope is the way it is.
I know, but I don't know. I think that's something that was like never really like touched on. But
yeah,
I'm traumatized by it. I'm upset by that. I'm upset by that.
Ooh, look,
R.I.P. R.I.P. dog.
I was just looking to see if they like actually mention.
It just says he's a terrier, that dog.
No, I was just looking to see if they actually say golden retriever in this.
I don't feel like I recall them saying golden retriever, but maybe I'm just stupid.
Oh no, okay. I literally found it. I was like, I know they mentioned Barney in the beginning, so blah 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 blah. Josh, why is the dog wearing my shirt? Pip's dad shouted, the sound flooding upstairs. Pip snort laughed as she clicked to save her capstone project log and closed her laptop. It was never quiet once her dad returned from work. Downstairs, Pip found Josh running from room to room, kitchen to hallway to living room on repeat, cackling as he went. Close behind was Barney, the golden retriever, wearing her dad's loudest shirt.
Huh.
Wow. So they do indeed say he is a golden retriever.
Clearly, I just didn't take that knowledge in.
No. Me neither.
But again, like, obviously I understand you would obviously always explain what a breed of dog is, but like, it's interesting that, like, again, speaking from the point of like there's things in this book that come back and they thread really well, and like for that to be such a loose thread until book 3 of like how this was done, it's kind of annoying. Like I understand that maybe like there isn't really a moment for Becca to be like, it was my fucking dad. Maybe she doesn't know, like I don't know, but like I don't know how that reveal. Yeah, but like, you know, she can be like, I didn't, like I know she says I didn't mean for it to happen. She didn't say I didn't do it. I don't think. I think she says I didn't mean for it to happen, which is implying like I assumed that she was like the dog fell in the river and just drowned. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what I always envisioned it as.
I was under the impression.
I feel like that's what she says.
I was under the impression that she let the dog go, and on the dog's way back home, is when it happened. That's
what I thought. I thought like the dog was off the leash, whatever, and it fell into the river, and the tide was too strong, whatever. Like, that's what I thought. Because she says, like, I'm pretty certain she says, I didn't mean for it to happen. And that's such an interesting thing to say. Like, an interesting line to say. Because if he drowned this dog, like I want to know how. Like, was it in a bath? Was it in the pool? Like, what happened? Like, where, like, there's so much not explained on this now that I'm, like, kind of annoyed by it. So I'm like, what a weird thing to be picky on later on.
I found it. What Becca says in the book. Okay, that's when you first texted me, Pip said, but I didn't stop, and when I came to talk to you at your office, you must have thought I was so close to figuring it out, talking about the burner phone and Max Hastings, so you killed my dog and made me destroy all my research. I'm sorry, she looked down. I didn't mean for your dog to die. I let him go, I really did, but it was dark. He must have gotten confused and fallen in the river. So that's what Becca says.
It feels like a retcon was made here. It feels like they wanted, it feels... that feels like, because that feels correct, that feels genuine, right?
Yeah.
If he was purposely drowned, that feels like a decision that was made later for something that's clearly important in book 3 that we don't know about. I can't help but feel like there is, because it's such a weird, like, why say that and then like change, like it feels unsatisfactory to have that and then change it. Like, I'm not satisfied with it because the dog died, but you know what I mean? Like, it makes more sense. Like, dogs do unfortunately fall into places and hurt themselves and drown. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's completely possible. Yeah.
Now I'm really curious for book 3. We'll have to come back to this.
Oh. I'm kidding. I will read it, obviously. Like I said, I can't leave it unfinished now, but yeah, I feel like now there has to be more to it. And if there's not more to it, I'm gonna be pissed.
Also, can we just talk about how thick the third one is? Like,
disgusting. Yeah, I looked at the audio length and I was like, be for real. Be for real, please.
1 and 2 are pretty good, but 3, that's a thick book.
Yeah.
And for what?
Yeah,
also, this is a nitpicky thing for people who make covers, okay? I like this. I like the string, okay? I think it looks nice. This one, okay, I get it because it's more like of a podcast. These ones, though, like, I can see the connection. What the fuck is this?
Well, I know the cover has significance.
Okay, fine.
I saw a TikTok that was like, not understanding why, like, the third book has duct tape on it at the end, and I was like, oh.
I'm sure it does have significance. I just like these two. Okay.
No, I know what you mean.
Can feel
they are. The third one is ugly. I'm sorry, it is.
Especially that ugly. Like, okay.
The duct tape's shiny. Why is it shiny? Be for real. Get rid of the shine on it.
Also, like this is typed. Okay, you can tell. Typing. This one is like, looks like marker.
Mm-hmm.
This is also, I don't know, I think it's the red writing also that's just so jarring.
Yeah.
It's like black font.
Yeah.
I also, listen, this is just me being nitpicky, okay? But if you look without the dust jacket, all red, okay? Fine. This one, red with white. This is very much a hardcover style choice in the US, at least. What's in this one? Ew.
That's what I mean. I feel like
the spines. Why are you so shiny? Disgusting.
They just don't. They don't look like a. They don't look like a set. They don't look like a piece together. I don't get it.
Match.
The fact that the font is different actually irks me so bad. Like, that actually pisses me off. Like, I don't like it when series do that. Please keep the same font.
The only thing that they have going for them is the fact that her name is always at the top. Thank you for doing that, because sometimes they change. But these books just like don't vibe.
No.
Even though this is red and black and this is black with red,
I don't care.
I hate it. Thank you.
We are haters.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for your TED Talk. I'm so glad we could do that.
These books, look at that.
Beautiful. Chef's kiss. We love to see it.
Because you can see the birds, and then this fox.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Bird in its mouth.
Design that was thought through.
I know. 10 out of 10.
That is coherent, and a color scheme that makes sense, and a font that matches. I am being shady because I am shady.
Yes. Or
even if you made it this far, then you're welcome to listen to us be haters. Yeah, I mean, I have qualms with those. I think they're like not the best looking covers, but at least they match.
I do think they're ugly, but they're at least consistent.
Yeah, at least they match. I don't understand why they're so shiny. What is? I also, why are book covers shiny? Why are they shiny?
Why is this?
Mine doesn't have that. Oh, I think mine has a sticker on. Mine has a sticker on. Mine has a sticker on. I took mine off.
Like yellow, and then this one's like teal.
Yeah, at least they're coherent. The other ones, are not. That's what I have to say. I'm sure we've missed stuff. I feel like we gave a very rushed plot summary. We just jumped from the beginning straight to the end. But if you've read it, then you know, so it's okay.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I have no real other thoughts. I think it was really well done. I liked it. I liked the plot twist. I liked that it kept me guessing. I did figure out kind of what happened before it happened, which is always a good sign that you've written a really good twist and suspense, because your reader should figure it out before it is given to them in most cases. Otherwise, you've done a poor job. So I like that I was kind of able to suss out, what was occurring. Obviously not all of it, because it was a twist and then a twist again, but I like that it logically made sense. I'm sure if I re-listened or reread it, I'd be like, yes, because I think I said to you, the one biggest clue for me was the biscuits. It felt like such a weird thing to include if it wasn't relevant. So I was like, there's something to do with this, and obviously it was a big part of the plot, and that was clever because it stuck in my brain, and I was like, yeah, I'll make note of this. So very well done.
I think too, what I really like is there were bad people doing bad things, but ultimately Andy's death wasn't like, it was malicious, but it also wasn't at the same time. It was just like a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
And it was very sad because, like, you know, she falls, she hits her head, and that obviously impacts her fight with Becca. But, like, no one set out to kill her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Versus what, you know, everyone thinks for so long. I think that Sal's death is just so sad for me. Like, that makes me so angry. So angry.
I think that's I think there's a lot of good commentary, whether intended or not, of like the justice system and also like public perception of like crimes, especially like when there's race involved. I think there's always like big like obviously implications and consequences for that. I think it's handled really well. I think also Pip is really good at being a very empathetic character. Like when she like, obviously I know she has personal ties, but like even in the second book, like I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book, but I really did enjoy the fact that she is someone who is close. Because I think sometimes with a lot of like detective stories, like they are cool, but like because the detective is so far removed, it feels quite cold. Whereas like here, because she is like, these are my friends and these are like people I know and spend time with, it does feel a lot more like there is a lot more suspense to be had, because you know, she's obviously like increasingly worried because she knows these people and cares for them. So yeah, but a clap for you and the book. You only get one from me because I'm tight, soz.
I'll give you a round of applause.
So you're the generous one. No, I'm kidding. I did like it. I think I rated it 4 stars. I can't even remember. I think I did.
I think I did too.
I think so. I'm not a hater. I just have some problems, but that's okay. You're not gonna like every book, so it's fine.
I mean, here's the thing: a 5-star book for me is either like one that I literally can't stop thinking about, even if it's not, like, even if it's not a good written, like, if it moved me and I can't stop thinking about it, and like it impacts me, and I would consider tattooing at least one line from that book on my body. 5 stars.
Yeah, same. Yeah, for me, it's about the emotional experience and like, do I keep thinking about it? Do I keep thinking about this book? Yes, but not on the same way. Like, I keep thinking about it in the sense of like, because I'm actively reading the series. So like,
yes,
is why. Like, in a few months' time, would I be thinking of this? Probably not. Like, and that's not like any shade. There's so many books that are great that I don't like constantly have rattling around in my empty brain, but there's ones that obviously just do. But yeah, I think overall, if like in terms of YA, this is like up there as like some of the best YA writing. Like, I'm very picky about YA. I personally am like prefer to read adult characters because I just think sometimes the YA characters are just stupid.
A lot of them are annoying. Insufferable as well.
Yeah, some of them are they're just annoying, and I'm just like, I don't really want to read about that. Like, like unless it's important to the story, which a lot of the time it isn't. But this is really well done. So
yeah, and I want to read some for other stuff. I haven't yet.
Yeah, same.
Same. But I know 5 Survives sounds really good, so like I'm hoping it's as good as it sounds.
Yeah, I've heard high praise for her other writing, and she is someone that I definitely want to pick up more of her stuff because I like the way she writes, which is like, again, that's not easy. I have very few authors that I'm like, actually, like, there's authors' books that I love, but I'm like, I kind of don't like your writing. But like, she's actually someone that I really like their writing. So you know, she won in that regard.
Yes. So she also does not look like what I expected, which I know is so silly.
Oh my god, I was thinking the same thing, because obviously like I'd only really consumed this like recently, like since what, like February or something. I can't remember when I started the first book, like March. It doesn't really matter, but not the jump scare. That sounds like she's just not the entity gorgeous. I thought. Yeah, she is. Like but in my head, I don't know why. Like I had such a vision of her, and she's just not anything like in my head. Yeah. And agreed, I was like, hey, Queen. Yeah. We love her. I love that she's doing her little presser icon. We love to see it. And don't be problematic, bitch, please, because I can't be having more problematic authors. Just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, please.
The one final thing that I want to say to anybody else who has read this book, I just want to know, does anybody else think she was inspired by Serial, the podcast? Because I do.
Yes, I think so. And that's not a bad thing.
No.
That's not a bad thing. But I agree with that sentiment.
There's the basic plot of like Sal and Andy is literally just serial, other than the fact that Sal dies as well.
Yeah, I think that's also the problem with a lot of true crime is like it does step on each other's toes. So if you're someone like me who does read a lot of it, like go into it knowing that like it's not going to be anything groundbreaking in the genre, and that's okay. Yeah. Like there's a lot of books out there that I'm like, they aren't the best thing in the world, and that's fine. And you know, if you think it is the best thing in the world, go for it. But yeah, I think this genre is really hard to nail, and I think she did a really, really good job. She's made a very successful series. She has a Netflix deal and we don't, so
this author,
a BBC One deal, so we love to see it.
Karen M. McManus. McManus. I will read pretty much anything by her. Is it groundbreaking? No, but she writes some really fun YA thriller shit.
Yeah, which is good.
And it's great. I read this whole series. I don't think it needed to be a series, personally.
But like, there we are.
I have read so many of her books.
Yeah, it's the same like me with Lee Bardugo. Like, I will sit and I will listen and read all of her books. Like, Matt Wolowski, like, I'm ready. Like, there's just
Holly
authors
Black.
That I'm like, there's just authors that I'm like, this is not doing the best in the world, but like it's doing enough for me. Yes. I appreciate that. Me with every Greek mythology retelling I see in Waterstones, I'm like, so
yeah,
you're welcome. I'm keeping the Greek mythology girlies afloat with their finances. I eat them, but
all right, we're out of here. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. To stay connected with us, then follow us on social media, which are linked in the description. I've been Emily.
And I've been Scar.
Tune in next time for the best cottagecore podcast for the cottage whores.